This case has everything. Boats, meth, murder, Billy Idol.
Lampreys.
No lampreys, so I guess it doesn't have everything.
We'll add them in.
Okay.
All right. So let's get into it. Late October 14th / early morning, October 15th, 2019. It's a gorgeous fall night in Dana Point, California, and Sheila Marie Ritzie had a 24-foot fishing boat docked at Dana Point. And on that windless 70-degree night, just sounds absolutely fucking gorgeous, under a full fucking moon,
Oh my God.
took the Sea Koenig, that's her boat, out with 2 passengers aboard, Huang Li and Tai Min Dao. Long after the other fishing boats in the area had already returned to shore, so it's literally like midnight. They're the only ones out there.
Okay.
It was almost midnight, and the vessel was nearly 3 miles from shore. I wonder if that's intentional, given what we know now about the maritime law thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. When folks on land heard the distant sound of gunshots over the bay, the vessel...
Is Sheila a lady?
Yes.
Are the other 2 ladies?
No.
Okay.
The vessel returned to shore, and 3 days later, Tai Min Dao was discovered by fishermen in Oceanside, which is barely a mile south of Dana Point. So he had just drifted a little bit downshore.
Okay.
And he was found dead in the water. A medical examiner determined that Dao's cause of death was drowning, and that he also had gunshot wounds, or at least 1 gunshot wound, and blunt force trauma as factors.
Jeez.
Okay.
Trio.
Yep. So let's back up and figure out how these folks are even connected to each other and ended up on this boat.
Yeah.
So Huang Li is the son of Vietnamese immigrants who came to California, where he attended Cal State, and he graduated in 2004, but his life seemed to spiral pretty out of control shortly thereafter when he established himself as like a pretty big time drug dealer in California, and he became simultaneously addicted to alcohol, methamphetamine, and cocaine.
That's tough.
Another
rough
trio.
Yep. His deals took him back and forth from Las Vegas to where he was living in California pretty regularly. Through dealing drugs, he met Tai Min Dao and Tai's little brother, Alex. Allegedly, Alex ran an underground, and I say allegedly, even though we know this is true, but...
Wasn't ever convicted of it, so okay.
Well, and we'll tell you why. So, ran an underground gambling house in Irvine, California, and he kept himself out of jail by turning informant to the FBI. So basically, they're not going to bust his gambling house if he gives
gets all the
intel,
info.
yep, on the people who frequent the spot.
Got it.
So when Alex's brother Tai went missing on October 14th, because again, he wasn't found for 3 days and they were in close contact with each other, so he probably didn't hear from him on the 15th, and then was like, where the fuck are you? And then he doesn't hear from him again on the 16th. I don't know if he reported him missing, but he knew he was missing, and then he was found. Wang Li was immediately concerned that Alex would pull his FBI connections on this case, which he totes did. So now this is like a federal investigation into...
So Wong knew that Alex had FBI connections.
Correct, because Huang and Tai were like
BFFs.
pretty close friends.
Got it.
Like really close, and like knew each other's families, and
Okay.
so like
So
dude
maybe
knew.
Ty was like, don't say any shit at this gambling house.
Right, I think they had some agreements. And at this point, I think Wang Li's drug trafficking and stuff was like, it was fairly big time, but he wasn't out like he wasn't like fighting with other, gangs or like drug dealers
Okay.
or what. There wasn't like bloodshed.
He wasn't like your local neighborhood dealer, but he wasn't a huge
Priority for the FBI, I guess I would say.
He wasn't
I think
the one who knocks.
Precisely.
Okay.
We need to cook. So Sheila met Wong through similar circumstances. Though an adult when they met, she had been a teenage runaway and had a history with substance abuse, multiple arrests on her record for meth, cocaine, and marijuana trafficking, burglary, and sex work.
How does this bitch have a big ass boat in Dana Point, California?
So she had gotten and she had gotten married and lived a pretty kind of quiet life with her now ex-husband.
Okay.
They'd had a child. I think she
So she
you know,
had a past.
she had a past. She seemed to have like recovered from that past. But then when she and her husband got divorced, it sounds like things went really downhill. But then she already had, I think maybe she got the boat in the divorce or something. I'm
Okay.
not 100% sure. But then she kind of falls in with Huang Li and
Got it.
is kind of up to some of her previous behaviors.
Got it.
So, quote, she met Lee in early 2019 when she was in the midst of what prosecutors described in their sentencing memorandum as a downward spiral that included her divorce, a drunken car crash, and an altercation with employees at a Burger King drive-thru that ended with Ritzy charging into the restaurant and threatening to bomb it.
Oh no. To vomit?
Fucking, no,
Sheila,
bomb.
Sheila Marie, no.
Sheila Marie threatening to vomit, and then an arm came out of her, and then another shark. It was
And then
crazy.
another shark.
Fucking yikes. So post-divorce Sheila is a mess. She falls in with Huang Li. They become pretty fast friends. And it wasn't unusual for them to go fishing together, especially lobster fishing. And there's like a photo on the drive of Huang Li with a lobster. And that was taken on her boat. Like they were buddies. They definitely did drugs together. She probably bought drugs from him.
Right.
But like they hung out. There was some speculation that they were involved with each other sexually, but nobody ever confirmed that, and we don't know.
Okay.
And it's not really relevant, but it's possible. So not long before Tai Dao's murder, Lee and Ritzy traveled to Las Vegas with Dao, as well as Lee's friend and fellow drug dealer, a man named Sean Whalen, to attend a Billy Idol concert,
Oh my God.
like you do.
Yeah.
But this ended up being a key weekend for prosecutors to try to prove that Lee and Ritzy conspired to murder Tai Min Dao. It was during that weekend, prosecutors allege, that Lee and Ritzy hatched their plan to kill Dao, with Whalen testifying that Lee told him of the murder plot during that trip. And she and like Sheila and Lee were not shy about this. It sounds like they really ran their mouths.
Yeah.
So Sheila's former mother-in-law, Sandra Ritzy, and Sheila had stayed, I guess, like super BFFs even after
she became such a hot mess.
she became estranged from Sandra's son, Sheila's ex-husband. And they stayed friends. So Sandra was also on this Vegas trip to go see Billy Idol.
Oh my God.
And
so weird.
It's super
so
weird. This
messy.
relationship is
Everybody
so
take
weird.
a nap.
Yeah, it takes several seats. So Sandra, we got Sandra, Pamela, Sandra, and Rita. I don't know. Sandra had been on the Vegas trip, and she testified in court that when she asked Sheila, like, who Dao was, they all met up in the lobby at some, like, casino hotel to go see Billy Idol together. And here's this guy, Tai Min Dao, and Sandra's like, who's this guy? And apparently Sheila responded, don't worry about it. We're going to be offing him this weekend.
Oh my God. Calm
Can you
down.
imagine?
That's what I'm going to be saying from now on. Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We're going to be offing him
Don't
this
worry.
weekend.
This is not going to make it through the weekend.
It's
Don't
not
need to remember his
worth
name.
you learning his name.
Precisely.
The less
So
you
that-
know, the better.
It's actually
But I'm
safer for
about
you
to
not
tell
to
you.
know. But I am going to murder him this weekend.
Just so you know, I'm really happy that you're here.
I'm super happy that you're here. So the drug dealer friend of Huang Li, the guy Sean Whalen, denies that this exchange happened. He was like, Sandra wasn't even in the lobby. She met us at, Caesar's Palace or wherever the fuck the concert was. So this exchange couldn't have happened. But he also said in court that, I'll get to this next. He's like, Sheila's probably saying this because she isn't seeing her granddaughter as much as she was when Sheila and her son were together. And that was their kid together. And she wanted to maybe protect her granddaughter because Sheila was using again. And so Sean is trying to say Sandra's full of shit. She's just trying to fucking put Sheila away. But he also said in court,
so that her own son could get custody.
could get either more custody. I think he already had at least 50-50 custody.
Got it.
But it seemed like maybe Sandra had an ulterior motive for saying, oh yeah, Sheila told me that she was going to kill this guy. But at the same time, Sean also said in court that Lee, his friend, had talked to him about the murder plot. Quote, Sean Whalen also testified that the defendant told him he planned to, quote, take out the victim. Lee also asked Whalen to help him kill Dow, but Whalen refused. So I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on here.
What?
Everything I've read, like I said, says that Sandra and Sheila remained really good friends after the divorce. So it seems weird for her to suddenly turn on Sheila and lie. But like, that is a truly ballsy quote if Sheila really did say, don't worry about this guy, I'm going to kill him next weekend. But also, if Sheila had said that to Sandra, it's weird that they would then all go to the Billy Idol concert and they were like posting videos of themselves laughing, singing, hugging, and hanging out. Like if when we were on my bachelorette weekend in Vegas, we were getting ready to go to Chris Angel and you were like, who's this friend that we haven't met yet? And I was like, don't worry about it. I'm murdering them next weekend. Would we then post a bunch of really fun, happy
Well, maybe
selfies?
because you want plausible deniability. You want, you know, you want to be like, no, we're friends. Look how much fun we were just having.
It's just such a weird exchange. I don't doubt for 1 minute.
Also, nothing could keep you from posting about a really fun weekend.
Of course not. I don't doubt for 1 minute that either of these suspects were running their mouth about this because multiple people said that they were. What confuses me is like why Sean even gives a shit whether or not he denies that, you know, Sandra and Sheila had this conversation in the lobby when Hwang Lee also had this conversation with him separately. Like, what's the point of that? It's just fucking weird. I don't know.
What's the whole motive? Why do they
we're getting to it.
Okay.
We're getting to it. And, you know, just as we've been saying, this whole like ex-mother-in-law, daughter-in-law friendship feels really gross and weird to me. But I do think it's completely legit that Sheila and Hwang were both running their mouths about this plan. That seems to track.
Okay.
So a week after the concert, Sheila, Hwang, and Ty go out fishing. They go out lobster fishing. Sheila's done this a million times. You know, Hwang is like, she's the lobster whisperer. Like, she always knows where the best stuff is.
Is this that night or is this during the day?
No, this is that night, the night of the murder. According to Hwang, Ty had owed him some money from either a previous drug deal or sale or some other arrangement, but had fallen on hard times and not only wouldn't pay him back, but asked him that night on the boat for an additional $2,000 in loaned funds.
Maybe you shouldn't have gone to Vegas.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe he thought he would win it back.
Maybe he thought so. Hwang refused to give him more money and was like, fuck you, you still owe me money from this other thing, which angered Ty. Again, this is all according to Hwang's testimony, which angered Ty, and Ty pulled a gun from his waistband.
Convenient.
Hwang claims that Ty pressed the gun against his stomach and Hwang wrestled it out of his hand. He claimed that during the struggle, a shot went off, hitting no one, but the struggle continued and a second shot fired, this time hitting Ty Dow. Taking the opportunity to defend himself when Ty had been hit, and so he was distracted, Hwang claims he then hit Ty over the head with a broomstick and pushed him overboard in self-defense. He claimed Ty was continuing to scream that he was going to kill Hwang even after he had hit the water, so Sheila and Ty sped away to safety.
Yeah, we were scared of this unarmed man alone
with a gunshot
in the
wound
ocean at night with a
in
gunshot
the pitch
wound.
darkness.
So we couldn't get him back on the boat. We were scared of him. We had to speed away.
Yeah.
Correct.
Allegedly one of the guy's best friends, too.
Yep.
Amazing.
He said, quote, I was scared, so I told Sheila, let's go, let's get away from this area. Folks are obviously calling bullshit on this and felt confident that this killing was premeditated. There are a million holes in this story that he's telling. One literal hole being the gunshot wound.
Make that joke. I was like, well, there are two holes.
Yeah. In that Ty Dow sustained, the wound that the shot that actually hit him was in his back.
Oh.
Which was not consistent with the grapple and accidental shooting story.
Absolutely not. This dude
Quote,
was murdered. I'm so sorry.
Exactly. Quote, you might begin and end your analysis of self-defense with that fact, said Attorney General Gregory Scally, which I think is an adorable name.
Scallywag.
If James Dow shot himself, he's quite the contortionist. Mm-hmm. So this is the guy who said this in court. Second hole, Lee could not account for what he and Sheila did right after going back to shore.
Ate a bunch of lobster?
Oh, I wish. That would have been the better.
She really
They certainly didn't go to the police.
Whisperer.
Mm-hmm. Turns out they placed a GPS tracking device on the vehicle of a woman named Natalie Wynn, who was the girlfriend of the deceased. They intended to track and essentially stalk her in the hopes of stealing whatever life insurance money would come from Ty's untimely death.
What?
And there were receipts. Not only did the FBI find the GPS tracking device and confiscate it, they also found text messages from Lee to Natalie Wynn and other people inquiring about and discussing a life insurance policy for Ty.
Don't text
I know.
Anything incriminating.
Call, don't text. And I will not answer because I hate talking on the phone. But at least you won't be sending me a, hey, what's your life insurance policy situation? And also, do you want to go fishing next weekend?
At night.
Like, these are the dumbest criminals.
Wow.
Of all fucking time.
Cold-blooded.
Really cold-blooded. It's bad. Wang Li had also told his friend Sean about this, like about the life insurance situation, and showed him a .38 caliber gun that he had in his possession, which is a firearm that's consistent with the gunshot wound found in Ty Dow's back.
Well,
Ty never had a fucking gun on him on the boat, most likely.
My God.
When you set up a murder scheme, you want to make sure that as many people as possible know all the details.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. Motive means an opportunity and intention.
Yep.
Got to tell that to multiple people.
Exactly. And finally, the autopsy report indicated upwards of 9 blunt force trauma wounds or marks on Ty Dow's head, which is inconsistent with Lee's claim that he hit him like once with a broomstick.
Yeah, a broomstick.
To incapacitate him and then push him over the edge of the boat. It also sure didn't help that Sheila's police interviews were sketchy as shit. She claims she didn't even know Ty before Wong had invited him out fishing, even though she'd been in Vegas with him at the Billy Idol concert a week prior.
Oh my God.
Quote, during a December 2019 interview with federal investigators, Ritzy told a series of lies, including when she falsely said she had never met the victim prior to the fatal October 15th, 2019 boat.
Oh my God.
According to the Department of Justice. She also said in a police interview that she has no idea why they're investigating Wang Li, that he's a great guy who helps a lot of people.
Like me. Get insurance fraud.
Exactly. So
and
it's
drugs.
clear they're... And drugs, yeah. So it's clear they're trying to cover up their connections and their involvement, despite Huang later claiming that this was all an act of self-defense, that they were in fear for their lives.
Yeah, they did not get their story straight.
No, and then it's like, why did you not go to the police and instead put a tracking device on the deceased the deceased girlfriend that you'd already texted to and about multiple times about a life insurance policy? Like, honey, fucking... Could your trail of breadcrumbs be any? It's just a bright yellow paint line that you've now drawn, and you're covered in the paint.
You're a mess.
You're an absolute mess. So, this assistant U.S. Attorney General Scallywag made it clear during the trial that Dow was not dead when he was dumped overboard because the autopsy showed the cause of death was drowning. And he says beating, shooting, and then leaving the victim so far from shore shows they intended to kill Dow. This was no accident.
Yeah, in a very brutal way.
Yeah. And ultimately, the jury agreed. Wang Li was convicted of first-degree murder within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the U.S., as well as conspiracy to commit murder and using a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence. He was sentenced to a mandatory life in prison. Quote, Lee committed murder, and as a result, the victim's family will never see him again.
What about Sheila?
We'll get to it. Prosecutors wrote in a sentencing memorandum filed in court, Lee's crime has left a grieving mother, grieving widow, grieving brothers, a grieving sister, and 2 fatherless small children. As for Sheila, she won't be lobster fishing for a while either. She was sentenced to 262 months in federal prison on charges of second-degree murder within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States and making false statements. So they both went away. She's going away for a long time, but not for life. She'll eventually get out. The victim's mother, this is really sad, but I just felt like you got to finish a story like this actually honoring this poor guy who got fucking killed.
For nothing.
For absolutely nothing. So the victim's mother, Anne Tran, said in a victim impact statement to the U.S. District Judge David O. Carter that she would, quote, never be able to get over this nightmare, and every day is a tearful reminder that I will never see my son again, and his daughters will grow up not knowing their father. You often spent time together with my son's 2 young daughters.
Oh
they
God.
called you uncle and thought of you as family.
Oh my God.
How could you so mercilessly and violently murder him like this? It was incredibly heartbreaking and agonizing to sit in court every single day for months and see and hear all the gruesome details of this case. You lured my son by taking him on what he thought was a fishing trip. Then you shot him and brutalized him with metal hooks. I guess maybe that's what he was beaten with.
Yikes.
I didn't see the details on that. And left him to drown a slow, painful death in the darkness of the cold ocean.
Yeah.
Tran added that Lee never felt any pangs of conscience and said, quote, you continued to enjoy your life, brag about being a hitman, and tried to intimidate his family by tracking them. You have not only killed him, but you have destroyed his family and ruined all of our lives.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Isn't that fucking wild?
That is wild.
It's no Russian nesting doll shark regurgitation, but it's pretty bomb.
Well, actually, both of our cases have a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got like a group of like criminal friends committing fraud and killing each other out on the open ocean.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, lots of
that's my
people
case,
like
man.
in cahoots and like kind of snitching on each other too.
A lot of cahoots and not locked up cahoots, like not tightened up cahoots.
Yeah.
These cahoots were loose as fuck. Loose cahoots.
Loose cahoots.
Yeah.
Make sure you're
kind of cahoot.
Yeah, the word. Make sure you're not riddled with loose cahoots when you're trying to pull off a
Suffering
murder.
from loose cahoots.
I'm always suffering from loose cahoots. I would never get away with anything ever. And also, my blue hair is shed everywhere.
Yeah.
The evidence would be overwhelming.
Yep.
Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.